Alien nurse stunned by a strange swelling in her human patient's pants. Nurse 6RA checked the medical scanner one more time, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence as she tried to process what she was seeing. The reading must be wrong. She had treated dozens of species from across the galaxy during her 10 years aboard the interstellar hospital ship, Mercy Voyager, but humans were entirely new. This cannot be normal, she muttered, her vocal sacs vibrating with concern. The unconscious human male lay on the examination table, his chest rising and falling with each breath. According to the identification in his pocket, his name was John Walker, a diplomatic representative from Earth. He had collapsed during the first ever meeting between humans and the Galactic Council, causing quite the commotion. The ship's captain had been clear: treat the human with exceptional care. The success of Earth joining the Galactic Alliance might depend on it. Zixare's upper eyes focused on the medical readout while her lower set examined the human's strange body. Humans were so different from most sentient species. Their skin was not scaled or plated but soft and vulnerable. They had hair only on specific parts of their body. And most puzzling of all, they had what appeared to be an inflamed appendage between their legs. The medical scanner beeped again, drawing her attention back to the screen. Medical Officer Krell, could you join me please? She called through the intercom. The door to the examination room slid open with a soft hiss. Officer Krell, a tall insectoid with gleaming exoskeleton, stepped inside. What seems to be the problem, Nurse 6RA, he clicked, mandibles twitching with curiosity. I am concerned about the human patient, she explained, pointing to the scanner. There appears to be an abnormal growth in the lower abdominal region. See this organ here? It seems inflamed. Krell leaned closer, compound eyes reflecting the screen's light. Fascinating. I've never seen anything like it. Is it causing his unconscious state? I don't believe so. His collapse seems related to different factors, possibly the ship's artificial gravity or oxygen mix affecting his system. But this. She gestured towards the scan, this concerns me. Krell tapped his front legs together thoughtfully. The Alliance database has limited information on human physiology. Their species only achieved faster-than-light travel 3 Earth years ago. Our medical protocols for them are still in development. Should we surgically remove it? Zixare suggested. If it's an inflammation, it could be dangerous. Let's not be hasty, Krell cautioned. Remember the Trilaxian incident? We nearly caused an interstellar diplomatic crisis by removing what we thought was a parasite but turned out to be a sacred ceremonial implant. Zixare's skin flushed a deep purple with embarrassment. That mistake had cost her a promotion. You're right. We should gather more information first. A soft groan from the examination table caught their attention. The human was waking up. John Walker opened his eyes slowly, blinking against the bright medical bay lights. His head pounded, and he felt disoriented. The last thing he remembered was standing in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, about to deliver Earth's formal greeting, when the room had started spinning. Now he found himself staring up at 2 alien beings, one with 4 eyes and purple skin, the other looking like a giant praying mantis. He tried not to show his alarm. Hello, he said cautiously. Where am I? Zixare approached the table. You are in the medical bay of the Mercy Voyager. I am Nurse 6RA, and this is Medical Officer Krell. You lost consciousness during the council meeting. John tried to sit up but felt a wave of dizziness. I remember feeling lightheaded. Did I embarrass Earth on our first official contact? Not at all, Krell clicked reassuringly. Many species have difficulty adjusting to the council chamber's atmosphere. It is calibrated for the majority, not for newcomers. John nodded, relieved. Then he noticed both aliens were staring at him strangely, their attention focused somewhere below his waist. He became acutely aware that he was wearing only a thin medical gown. Is something wrong? He asked. Zixare and Krell exchanged glances. Mr. Walker, 6RA began carefully, we have detected what appears to be an abnormal inflammation in your lower body. We are concerned it may be serious. John looked confused. Inflammation? I feel fine, aside from the headache. Perhaps it is painless in its early stages, Krell suggested. The scan clearly shows an unusual appendage that seems swollen with fluid. A moment of confusion crossed John's face before understanding dawned on him. His eyes widened. Wait, are you talking about my... He stopped mid-sentence, a flush of red spreading across his face. Yes, this organ here, 6RA confirmed, showing him the scan. We are unfamiliar with human anatomy, but this appears abnormal. John closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Of all the ways he imagined first contact with aliens would go, discussing his reproductive organs hadn't been one of them. That's not an inflammation, he said finally. It's supposed to be there. It's part of normal human male anatomy. Now it was the alien's turn to look confused. You mean this is a natural part of your body? 6RA asked, her 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession. Yes, John confirmed, wishing he could disappear. It's for reproduction. Krell's antennae stood straight up in surprise. Fascinating. Most species keep reproductive organs internal for protection. Yours are external. Only for males, John explained, feeling increasingly uncomfortable. Look, can we maybe discuss something else? Like why I passed out? 6RA noticed his discomfort and nodded. Of course. I apologize for causing distress. We should focus on your immediate medical needs. She adjusted the scanner to focus on his brain and cardiovascular system instead. Your collapse was likely caused by the different oxygen mix and gravity settings. We can adjust your quarters to Earth standards, which should help. John relaxed slightly, grateful for the change of subject. But Medical Officer Krell wasn't ready to move on. If this is normal, then all human males have this external appendage. How do you protect it from injury? Does it have other functions? The database must be updated. Krell. 6RA hissed. The patient is uncomfortable with this line of questioning. John tried to sit up again, this time more successfully. It's okay. I understand your medical curiosity. But in human culture, we consider this topic somewhat private. Krell's mandibles clicked in what might have been embarrassment. I see. Cultural sensitivities. I should have considered that. No harm done, John assured him. This is what first contact is all about, learning to understand each other. 6RA was about to respond when the medical bay doors slid open again. A tall, regal alien with scaled skin and an elaborate uniform entered. Captain Thrax, 6RA and Krell said in unison, standing at attention. How is our human guest? The captain asked, his voice deep and resonant. He is recovering well, 6RA reported. Just a reaction to the council chamber environment. Captain Thrax turned to John. Mr. Walker, on behalf of the Galactic Alliance, I apologize for this unfortunate incident. Rest assured, we will make all necessary accommodations for human physiology in the future. Thank you, Captain, John replied. The council meeting has been rescheduled for tomorrow, Thrax continued. Will you be well enough to attend? John nodded. I believe so, especially if the environment is adjusted. Excellent. I'll leave you in Nurse 6RA's capable hands. The captain nodded and left the room. As the door closed, 6RA's communicator beeped. She checked it and her 4 eyes widened. It seems word of our human guest has spread, she said. The medical database just received an urgent update from Earth about human physiology, and... She paused, reading further, the medical staff is requested to attend a briefing on human biological functions and cultural sensitivities. John couldn't help but laugh despite his embarrassment. I guess I'm going to be famous around here for all the wrong reasons. 6RA's skin rippled with what might have been a smile. Mr. Walker, in my experience, first contacts are always memorable. But I must admit, yours might be the most unique I've encountered. As John prepared to respond, a sudden sharp pain shot through his head, and his vision blurred. He gasped, clutching the examination table. Mr. Walker. Zixare rushed forward, her medical scanner already in hand. What's happening? John tried to speak, but no words came out. The room began to spin once more as darkness closed in around him. The last thing he heard was Zixare calling for emergency assistance, her voice filled with concern and confusion. Whatever was happening to him, John realized, was far more serious than any cultural misunderstanding about human anatomy. Chaos erupted in the medical bay as John Walker collapsed for the second time. Nurse Zixare's 4 eyes widened in alarm as she rushed to stabilize him. Emergency protocol activated, she called out, her purple skin darkening with stress. Medical Officer Krell, prepare the neural scanner. The tall insectoid moved with surprising grace, his 6 limbs working in perfect coordination as he prepared the equipment. Neural activity dropping rapidly, he clicked. This is not a simple reaction to our atmosphere. Captain Thrax stepped back, giving the medical team space to work. The Galactic Council must be informed. This human is the first of his kind to visit our station. If he dies here, he will not die, Zixare said firmly, administering a stabilizing agent through a mist that covered John's body. Not while I am his assigned caretaker. The human's vital signs began to stabilize, and Zixare let out a relieved breath through her vocal sacs. As the immediate danger passed, she turned to the scanner results. Interesting, she murmured. There appears to be unusual activity in his brain's electrical patterns. Unlike anything in our database. Krell leaned in, compound eyes reflecting the colorful scan. Could it be related to the external reproductive organ we discovered earlier? Perhaps there is a connection we do not understand. Zixare was about to respond when John groaned and opened his eyes again. What happened? He asked weakly. You experienced another collapse, Zixare explained, checking his pupil response with a small light. This one was more severe. Can you tell us if you have any medical conditions? John tried to focus his thoughts. I have a neural implant, he finally said. It translates languages. Standard issue for all Earth diplomats. Zixare and Krell exchanged alarmed looks. You have technology embedded in your brain. Krell clicked rapidly, a sign of distress in his species. This was not in any of the information Earth provided. It's classified tech, John explained. Only a few humans know about it. The implant must be malfunctioning in your environment. Zixare's 4 eyes narrowed in concentration. This explains the unusual brain activity. Your implant is incompatible with our ship's communication systems. Can you fix it? John asked. We need to study its design first, she replied. But more importantly, we need to discuss something else. She paused, clearly uncomfortable. About our earlier misunderstanding. John's face reddened slightly as he remembered their confusion about human anatomy. Right. That. The emergency database update from Earth was quite educational, Zixare said, her skin shifting to a lighter purple that John would later learn indicated embarrassment. I must formally apologize for my medical ignorance regarding human physiology. No apology needed, John assured her. First contact is always challenging. On Earth, we have thousands of different species of animals, but they're all from the same planet. You deal with life forms from across the galaxy. Krell's antennae twitched with curiosity. Since we are now discussing this topic professionally, may I ask a scientific question? Why would evolution favor external reproductive organs? It seems inefficient and vulnerable. John sighed. This wasn't how he imagined his diplomatic mission would go, but cultural exchange meant addressing uncomfortable topics too. I'm not a biologist, he began, but from what I understand, it's related to temperature regulation. Human male reproductive cells need to be kept slightly cooler than our core body temperature to remain viable. Fascinating. Krell exclaimed, mandibles clicking excitedly. Temperature-sensitive reproduction. We must add this to the xenobiology database immediately. Captain Thrax, who had been listening silently, stepped forward. While this cultural exchange is undoubtedly valuable, we have more pressing concerns. Mr. Walker, your neural implant malfunction could be seen as an attempt to breach our security systems. John tried to sit up, alarmed. That's not at all what's happening. The implant is passive translation technology. Perhaps, the captain said, but not all council members will see it that way. Some already view Earth's rapid technological advancement as concerning. Zixare intervened. Captain, I believe Mr. Walker requires rest. The diplomatic discussions can wait until we've stabilized his condition. The captain nodded reluctantly. Very well. You have 6 hours to resolve this situation, Nurse 6RA. I expect a full report before the rescheduled council meeting. After Captain Thrax left, John let out a long breath. Thank you. He seems intense. The captain bears the responsibility of this entire medical ship and its diplomatic mission, 6RA explained. Now, let's focus on your implant. Hours passed as 6RA and Krell worked to understand the human's neural technology. They discovered that the ship's advanced communication systems were creating interference with the implant, causing the seizure-like episodes. While they worked, word spread throughout the ship about the strange human anatomy. By mid-cycle, 6RA was receiving messages from curious medical staff across the vessel. Is it true humans have external reproductive systems? Do they really have only 2 arms and 2 legs? I heard they're filled with red liquid instead of proper hemolymph. 6RA ignored the messages, focusing instead on helping John. She'd grown to respect the human's resilience and good humor despite the embarrassing situation. I think we've solved it, she finally announced, holding up a small device. This shield will block the interference from our systems. It should prevent further episodes. John eyed the device warily. Where does it go? Behind your ear, she explained, demonstrating on herself. Non-invasive. As she attached the shield, her fingers brushed against John's skin. She was surprised by its warmth and softness. Most species she treated had exoskeletons, scales, or thick hide. There, she said, stepping back. How do you feel? John touched the small device and nodded. Better. The headache is gone. Excellent, Krell clicked from across the room. Now perhaps we can discuss more about human reproduction. For medical purposes only, of course. John laughed. You're persistent, I'll give you that. His expression turned more serious. But first, I need to know something. Will this implant situation cause problems for Earth joining the Alliance? 6RA considered her words carefully. Some council members are suspicious of new species, especially those advancing as quickly as humans. The implant could be interpreted as espionage technology. But it's just for translation, John protested. I believe you, 6RA said, but others might not. Technology embedded in a sentient being's brain is strictly regulated in Alliance space due to past abuses. John's expression fell. So Earth's application could be rejected because of me. Not if we handle this correctly, 6RA assured him. Perhaps we could present it differently. Not as hidden technology, but as an example of human innovation. How would that work? John asked. Before 6RA could answer, the medical bay doors slid open. A group of humans in diplomatic uniforms rushed in, led by a stern-looking woman. Ambassador Chen, John said, clearly surprised. What are you doing here? Damage control, the woman replied curtly. She turned to 6RA and Krell. I understand there's been a situation involving human anatomy and implant technology. Krell's mandibles twitched nervously. We were simply providing medical care to your diplomat. Ambassador Chen's expression remained severe. And in the process, you've managed to turn human biology into the ship's hottest gossip topic and exposed classified technology. With respect, Ambassador, Zixare countered, we were not informed about Mr. Walker's implant. Had we known, we could have prepared accordingly. That's exactly the problem, Chen said. Our relationship with the Alliance is already delicate. This incident has complicated matters significantly. John intervened. Actually, I think Nurse 6RA might have a solution. All eyes turned to the purple-skinned nurse, who suddenly felt the weight of not just one diplomatic career, but potentially Earth's entire future in the Galactic Alliance resting on her next words. Well, she began, her vocal sacs vibrating with nervous energy, I believe we should be honest about the implant's purpose and frame it as a demonstration of human adaptability. The Council values innovation, especially when it's designed to facilitate communication between species. Ambassador Chen looked skeptical. And what about the anatomical misunderstanding? Perhaps, Zixare suggested, her skin lightening with a new idea, we could use that too. Show how even embarrassing cultural exchanges can lead to better understanding between species. As the humans and aliens debated their next steps, none of them noticed the small red light blinking on Zixare's forgotten medical scanner. The human's neural implant was sending out a signal again, but this time, it wasn't just malfunctioning. It was transmitting. The medical bay buzzed with tension as Ambassador Chen and Captain Thrax faced off. Neither diplomat seemed willing to back down. This implant technology should have been declared before any human set foot on this vessel, Captain Thrax insisted, his scaled skin darkening with anger. And your medical staff should have basic knowledge of human anatomy before treating our diplomats, Ambassador Chen countered, arms crossed tightly across her chest. John sat on the edge of the examination table, the small shield device behind his ear blinking steadily. He looked at Nurse Zixare with an expression that clearly said, help me. Zixare cleared her throat, her vocal sacs inflating slightly. Perhaps we could focus on Mr. Walker's health before discussing political implications. All eyes turned to her. She continued with more confidence, the shield is only a temporary solution. We need to properly calibrate the implant to work with Alliance technology, or Mr. Walker will continue to experience seizures. Ambassador Chen's expression softened slightly. How long will that take? Several hours at minimum, Krell clicked, antennae twitching. Human neural technology is unlike anything in our database. We don't have several hours, Captain Thrax growled. The Council reconvenes in 3. John suddenly clutched his head, face contorting in pain. Something's wrong, he gasped. It feels different this time. Zixare rushed to his side, medical scanner in hand. The readings made her 4 eyes widen in alarm. The implant is overheating, she announced. It's drawing power from somewhere. Impossible, Ambassador Chen said. It has an independent power source. Krell moved to a console, mandibles clicking rapidly as he typed. Something in our systems is connecting with it. Like it's being hacked. Captain Thrax stepped back, one hand moving to the weapon at his hip. This confirms my suspicions. This is espionage. No. John shouted through gritted teeth. I don't know what's happening either. Zixare made a quick decision. Everyone out except medical personnel. Now. To her surprise, both the ambassador and captain hesitated, then complied. The doors slid shut behind them, leaving only Zixare, Krell, and John in the medical bay. Thank you, John said weakly. Don't thank me yet, Zixare replied, preparing a cooling agent. Your implant is reaching dangerous temperatures. If we don't stop it, it could cause permanent brain damage. Or worse, Krell added grimly. John's face paled. Can you remove it? Removal requires specialized equipment we don't have, Zixare explained. But first, we need to understand what's triggering it. She moved to a secure terminal and input her medical override codes. Computer, isolate this room from all external communications and frequencies. Isolation protocol engaged, the computer responded. Almost immediately, John relaxed. The pain, it's subsiding. Krell studied the readings. Fascinating. Something outside this room was attempting to connect with your implant. Not just connect, Zixare corrected, pointing to the data stream. Extract information. The implant was transmitting stored data. John looked horrified. That's not what it's designed to do. It's just supposed to translate. Unless it was modified without your knowledge, Zixare suggested gently. The implication hung heavy in the air. John's own people might have turned him into an unwitting spy. I need to contact Earth, John said firmly. This can't be authorized by our government. Contacting Earth would require lifting the isolation protocol, Krell pointed out. Which could trigger the implant again. Zixare paced the room, all four eyes blinking in sequence as she thought. Then she stopped suddenly. There might be another way. What if we create a localized EMP? Krell's antennae shot straight up. That would disable all technology in the room, including our medical equipment. Yes, but we could focus it precisely on the implant's frequency, she explained, growing excited. It would temporarily disable it without surgery. Would that be safe? John asked nervously. Safer than leaving an overheating device in your brain, Zixare replied. And once it's disabled, we can safely remove it. John took a deep breath. Do it. The next hour was a flurry of activity as Zixare and Krell modified a medical scanner to emit a targeted electromagnetic pulse. They worked seamlessly together, with Zixare's methodical approach complementing Krell's innovative thinking. Outside the medical bay, tensions were rising. Ambassador Chen had called in the rest of the Earth delegation, while Captain Thrax had stationed security personnel at the door. The diplomatic incident was quickly escalating into a potential crisis. Inside, John watched the alien medical team with growing admiration. Despite the cultural shock of his anatomy and the suspicion surrounding his implant, they were focused entirely on saving him. Why are you helping me? He asked Zixare as she calibrated the device. Captain Thrax clearly thinks I'm a spy. Zixare's skin rippled with what John had come to recognize as her equivalent of a smile. I am a medical professional. My duty is to my patient, not to politics. Besides, Krell added, your reproductive anatomy is too interesting to let you die before I've completed my research. John laughed despite the seriousness of the situation. You're never going to let that go, are you? Not in your lifetime, Krell clicked cheerfully. Zixare finished the modifications. It's ready. This will disable the implant for approximately 20 minutes. During that time, we need to extract it. John nodded, lying back on the examination table. I'm ready. Wait, Zixare said suddenly. Before we do this, you should know, removing the implant will likely affect your ability to understand us. The ship's universal translators aren't calibrated for human brainwaves yet. So I'll be alone, John said quietly. In a room full of aliens I can't understand, during a diplomatic crisis. Not alone, Zixare corrected, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. With friends. John looked at her purple hand on his arm, then up at her four concerned eyes. He nodded. Do it. Zixare activated the device. A high-pitched sound filled the room for 3 seconds, then silence. John blinked. Did it work? I don't feel any. He clutched his head suddenly, eyes rolling back. He's seizing. Krell shouted, rushing forward. Zixare moved with practiced efficiency, stabilizing John as his body convulsed. The implant is fighting the shutdown. Neural readings are off the charts. Outside the medical bay, alarms began to sound. The ship's computer voice echoed through the corridors, security breach detected. Unknown signal detected. All personnel to emergency stations. Inside, 6RA made a desperate decision. Krell, prepare for emergency brain surgery. We have no choice. But, we're not trained for human neurosurgery. Krell protested. Learn fast, 6RA replied grimly, gathering instruments. Because something inside his head is trying to transmit our entire ship's security protocols to an unknown receiver. As they prepared for the risky procedure, the medical bay doors suddenly slid open. Captain Thrax entered, followed by Ambassador Chen and a third figure, a human male in a plain black uniform with no insignia. Step away from the patient, the unknown human said coldly. 6RA stood her ground. He'll die without immediate treatment. That's no longer your concern, the man replied, pulling out a small device. This human is property of Earth Intelligence Division. Section 31. Ambassador Chen looked as shocked as the aliens. Section 31 doesn't exist. It's a conspiracy theory. The man smiled thinly. That's what you're supposed to think. As he moved toward John's convulsing form, 6RA made a split-second decision that would change her career, and possibly the relationship between humans and the Galactic Alliance forever. She stepped between the agent and her patient. No. No, 6RA repeated, her purple skin darkening with determination. All four of her eyes narrowed as she stood protectively over John's convulsing form. This patient is under my care. The Section 31 agent's face remained expressionless. You don't understand what you're interfering with, alien. That implant contains classified Earth technology. And it's killing him, 6RA countered. As Chief Medical Officer of this sector, I am invoking Emergency Medical Protocol 7 Alpha. Captain Thrax inhaled sharply. Nurse 6RA, that protocol hasn't been used in 50 cycles. What is Protocol 7 Alpha? Ambassador Chen demanded. Krell answered while preparing surgical instruments. It grants absolute medical authority to the Chief Medical Officer, overriding all political, military, and diplomatic considerations when a life is at immediate risk. The agent drew a small weapon. I don't recognize your protocols. In a flash of movement too quick for human eyes to follow, Captain Thrax disarmed the agent. But I do, he said grimly. And they will be respected on my ship. Ambassador Chen stepped forward. As Earth's official representative, I demand to know what Section 31 is doing with our diplomats. You're not authorized for that information, the agent replied coldly. John's body suddenly went rigid, a pained groan escaping his lips. 6RA's medical scanner showed critical readings. Argue later, she snapped. We have less than 5 minutes before the implant causes permanent brain damage. Captain Thrax made a swift decision. Proceed with treatment, Nurse 6RA. Ambassador Chen, restrain your agent. This is now an Alliance medical emergency. The next few minutes were a blur of activity. 6RA and Krell worked with practiced precision, using a targeted surgical beam to access the implant without opening John's skull. The procedure was delicate, one wrong move could cause irreparable damage. I've located it, Krell clicked, mandibles twitching nervously. But it's different from the schematics. There appear to be 2 devices, not one. 6RA studied the scan. The secondary device is what's causing the problem. It's attached to the translator implant like a parasite. In the corner of the room, the Section 31 agent watched silently, his face betraying nothing. Ambassador Chen noticed his lack of surprise. You knew about this, she accused quietly. Need to know basis, he replied. On the operating table, 6RA made a crucial discovery. The secondary device has microtentacles extending into the brain tissue. Standard removal would cause neural damage. Can you disable it? Captain Thrax asked. Not without affecting the primary implant, Krell responded. They're integrated too closely. 6RA suddenly straightened, all 4 eyes blinking rapidly. what John had learned was her "Eureka" expression. "We don't need to remove it," she said. "We need to reprogram it." She turned to the medical console and began typing rapidly. "Every device has a fail-safe, even spy technology. We just need to find this one's kill switch." The Section 31 agent moved forward. "That's classified technology, which is currently broadcasting our ship's security protocols to an unknown receiver," Captain Thrax interrupted. "This is now an Alliance security matter." Ambassador Chen stepped closer to the console. "If I may," she said, surprising everyone. "Earth technology often includes basic override commands." Zixare moved aside, allowing the ambassador access to the terminal. Chen typed a series of commands, then looked at the agent. "Authorization code," she demanded. The agent remained silent. "Either you provide the code," Captain Thrax warned, "or we'll be forced to consider this an act of espionage against the Alliance, with all the diplomatic consequences that entails." After a tense moment, the agent recited a string of numbers and letters. Ambassador Chen entered them, and the terminal beeped in confirmation. "Device override accepted," the computer announced. On the operating table, John's convulsions stopped. His vital signs began to stabilize. Zixare rushed to check the readings. It worked. "The secondary implant is deactivating." "And the spy functionality?" Captain Thrax asked. "Disabled," Ambassador Chen confirmed. "Though we should still remove both implants as soon as possible." The next few hours passed in a blur of medical procedures and diplomatic negotiations. By the time John regained consciousness, the crisis had largely been contained. He opened his eyes to see Zixare checking his vital signs. Without his translator implant, her clicks and whistles were unintelligible to him. "I can't understand you," he said weakly. Zixare pointed to a small device on the table beside him. It looked like a hearing aid. When he inserted it into his ear, her sounds suddenly formed words. "This is an external translator," she explained. "Not as elegant as your implant, but without the spy functionality." John struggled to sit up. "What happened?" "Your government," Captain Thrax said from the doorway, "or at least a section of it, was using you as an unwitting intelligence gatherer." Ambassador Chen entered, looking both relieved and angry. "Section 31 operates without official authorization. The Earth government will be launching a full investigation." "Sure they will," John muttered skeptically. He turned to Zixare. "You saved my life." "Thank you." "Actually," she replied, skin rippling with amusement, "I believe this makes us even. After all, you provided valuable information about human anatomy that has significantly expanded our medical database." John groaned, covering his face. "Please tell me the whole ship isn't still talking about my inflammation." On the contrary, Krell clicked cheerfully as he entered with a datapad. "Your reproductive anatomy has become the most requested information in our xenobiology database. 3 species have already submitted research proposals on external reproductive organs and their evolutionary advantages." Captain Thrax cleared his throat. "While this cultural exchange has been enlightening, we still have a diplomatic situation to resolve." "Indeed," Ambassador Chen agreed. "The Galactic Council reconvenes in 1 hour. John is in no condition to attend, and the Section 31 incident has complicated matters." Zixare stepped forward. "If I may make a suggestion," she said, surprising herself with her boldness. "Perhaps this incident, while unfortunate, demonstrates something important about humans." "And what might that be?" Captain Thrax asked. "Their resilience," she replied. "Their adaptability. Consider what happened here. We misunderstood their anatomy, their technology nearly killed one of them, and we discovered potential espionage, yet here we are, still talking, still working together." John smiled weakly. "That's humanity in a nutshell. We make mistakes, sometimes horrible ones, but we keep trying to do better." Ambassador Chen nodded slowly. Perhaps that's what we should present to the Council. Not that humans are perfect, but that we're committed to learning and growing alongside the Alliance species. A refreshingly honest approach to diplomacy, Captain Thrax admitted. It might just work. 3 months later, Nurse 6RA checked the latest patient admission to the medical bay. Her 4 eyes widened in surprise when she saw the name, John Walker, Earth Diplomatic Corps. When the door slid open, John entered with a smile. "Hello, Nurse 6RA. Mr. Walker," she greeted him warmly. "I didn't expect to see you again so soon. I hope you're not having more issues with implants." He laughed. "No implants at all now, thanks to you. I'm actually here as part of Earth's new medical exchange program. Since we officially joined the Alliance last month, I volunteered to help update your database on human physiology." "How thoughtful," she replied, her skin rippling with amusement. "I'm sure Medical Officer Krell will be thrilled." As if on cue, Krell burst into the room, antennae quivering with excitement. "John Walker. Excellent. I have 17 new questions about human reproductive biology." John groaned good-naturedly. "Some things never change." "On the contrary," 6RA said, gesturing to the busy medical bay where humans and aliens worked side by side. "Some things change significantly. Because of one small misunderstanding about an inflammation, we've built something important here." John smiled as he looked around at the diverse species working together. From confusion to cooperation. Not a bad outcome after all. "Indeed," 6RA agreed. "Though I still recommend separate medical textbooks for human anatomy. Some things are best learned with proper warning." As they laughed together, human, insectoid, and 4-eyed purple alien, the story of the inflammation that changed interspecies relations became yet another chapter in the evolving relationship between Earth and the Galactic Alliance.